It's time for another installment of the Holistic Happy Hour with Devoya and Jason. The Holistic Happy Hour is dedicated to addressing the health and mental wellness of underserved communities of color. Join hosts Devoya and Jason as they quiz, question, and converse with cultural brokers, complementary healers, and other wellness providers and community folks.
So, welcome to the Holistic Happy Hour, a libation for your soul. We're dedicated to addressing the health and mental wellness of underserved communities of color. Join hosts Devoya Mayo and Jason Delgado as we chat with cultural brokers, complementary healers, and other wellness providers and community folks. Our guest today is the lovely Miss Elena Perez, licensed acupuncturist, herbalist, and lay minister who grew up in Fresno and is proud to support the wellness of the Fresno community. Her mission is to increase access to acupuncture and herbal therapies to folks who have not been exposed much to these practices in the past and shift the medical paradigm from symptom management to cultivating wellness. Thank you for being with us here today, Ms. Elena.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here and chat with you.
Good. So this is super chill. I just have some general questions and wanted to talk a little bit more about your practice. And since I've been getting services from you for the last few months and mention it to other folks who I know are also in pain, I'm having a little difficulty explaining to them that they have to get over the mental calisthenics that we do when we talk about needles.
Right.
So I'm hoping to dispel some of that myth. I'm hoping to explain the necessity of various practices and that it's okay to try different modalities until you find the right one. And then also to find out how you as well, how you maintain your own mental health and wellness. So if all that seems all right with you, I thought we could just get on into it.
Sure. Sounds great.
So the name of the show is the Holistic Happy Hour. The tagline is a libation for your soul. So I'm going to just read to you what a libation is.
Okay.
A libation is a ritual pouring of a liquid or grains, such as rice, as an offering to a deity or a spirit, or in memory of the deceased. It was common in many religions of antiquity and continues to be offered in cultures today. It's a very powerful, symbolic thing. Can you tell me if there's something ritualistic that you do for your own soul? And if you don't mind sharing that, what does that look like?
Good question. So in terms of ritual, definitely I keep an altar present for the ancestors, and I often will put a little offering, something, usually it is something that I'm consuming, and I just set a little aside for them, just to share and to create this sense of abundance, like across the realms. Mm-hmm. Especially if it's seasonally appropriate. It feels good to mark the changing of the seasons and also honor the ancestors. And, if you have a glass of wine, just pouring a little bit out in reverence as an offering feels really good. And definitely when I'm working with my patients, often at the beginning I call in ancestors and spirit guides, and I ask for their support, and I dedicate the merit of my practice to the well-being of all beings. And I feel like that really helps take the treatments to another level. And then I feel supported through it as well.
And you feel that as a patient, I will say that from my perspective, you do feel that even if it's your first time and you're not really certain about the practice, you recognize that the person dispensing this knowledge understands that it's from the ancestors, and it's from your background and education and all those different components, and you feel that, and it does lend itself to an easier transition into something that for me personally, I would not have a point of reference for. So I, just as a, a patient, I want to let you know, spot on.
That's beautiful to hear. I like to hear what it's like on the receiving end.
Yes.
And to know that, we're honoring like my ancestors who are present, and then the patient's ancestors who was on the table. And then also like the teachers, like you said, bringing in where the source of the medicine that I'm working with, acknowledging that and having it present in the room. It can be really powerful. And then I don't feel also that I'm trying to solve the patient's health concerns on my own. Like I have backup, both mine and theirs. Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. I hadn't thought about that. Would you like to talk a little bit about your practice and how you became interested in Chinese medicine? Are you comfortable with that?
Sure,
Okay,
definitely. Okay. So, so I studied anthropology when I was an undergrad at Berkeley. And I was really drawn to traditional healing practices and how the definition of health varies from culture to culture, and the definition of medicine even, and wellness. It's just such a spectrum, and it was really intriguing to me, like the field of medical anthropology. But when I was in college, my mom was dealing with a breast cancer diagnosis, and she had discovered acupuncture as a really good tool to help her deal with, dealing with a terminal diagnosis and coming to terms with quality of life, like seeking a better quality of life versus a cure. And also that it was just such a great tool to help her navigate all the things she was facing. And so she encouraged me to seek out a practitioner to support me with my health when I was studying. And just the spectrum of what he helps me with, like if I was studying for a big exam, there were points he could do to help me focus and study. And that sort of blew my mind that was even possible. So I realized that it was just a different paradigm, a different lens to look at wellness and health, and that it was applicable across the board. Like it wasn't just you need acupuncture if you have back pain or if you have the side effects of chemotherapy. It actually was a really holistic tool that could be applied to whatever you were dealing with, whether it was emotional issues like coming to terms with grief or depression or the stress of school, menstrual issues, digestive stuff, you name it. Chinese medicine has a way to approach it that's distinct from how biomedicine or Western medicine would deal with it, but very effective. And also the treatments were really stabilizing and grounding, and almost like an aspect of ritual besides the medical aspect. So I just found it to be a great tool. So when I was done with that degree, I realized I wanted to study that, not so much academically, but as a practitioner. So then I studied at the Acupressure Institute in Berkeley. And because I didn't know if I would even like working one-on-one with people or hands-on. And so I did sort of like a massage therapy program, and that was really helpful. And then I realized I loved connecting with people in the treatment space. And then from there, I studied acupuncture. So I went to the Academy of Chinese Culture and Health Sciences in Oakland, and it's a master's degree program.
And so you said you were thinking about that and from various lenses. Had you ever done any sort of hands-on practice with folks prior to that?
Not before studying at the Acupressure Institute. I had received acupuncture and I had received massage therapy, and I had taken my mom was into some like macrobiotics and meditation. So I had accompanied her to some of those retreats that she went on, and I received treatments and also some classes like barefoot shiatsu, like giving so I had a small introduction to it and found it enjoyable. So I figured might as well study it a little bit and see if it's something I wanted to pursue.
And that's a really great way to look at going through treatment for a loved one and then deciding that those practices might help others as well. I'm sure that had to have some bearing on your choice as well, if I'm not mistaken, in deciding to go into a field of that nature and dealing with a parent that likely already had those sensibilities, the holistic approach, trying different, methods of curing things. I'm sure that had to have some bearing on your development also in that arena.
Definitely. And also, my mom was a judge in Fresno, and she had access to these different modalities, and she was able to retire early and take time to explore and really come to terms with what health meant for her with a terminal diagnosis. And going through that journey with her, I realized how there wasn't as much access to the type of modalities that she had discovered. Like, people who had to work through their diagnoses don't have the time to search out practitioners. And I just really felt like there was a lack of access in Fresno. So she was living in Fresno, but she was driving up to Berkeley like weekly almost to see different practitioners. So it was a big inspiration of mine to bring that back to my home community and try to increase access.
It's all coming together for me now. Because I've often wondered, but happily, I'm excited to tell folks that these things are available here. They may or may not have been prior to my getting to know you, but working for a holistic center, it's important that we have various options for folks. And it's not to say that, everyday medications don't work for folks. That's not good at all. But having something complementary and having something outside of your, of what's available to you is often not available here.
Right.
So the notion that not only do you bring it back here, but then you have special. Can you talk a bit about? I believe you have a special project with another organization because they also want to make practices such as these available to folks who may not have access or just be afraid of it, quite honestly.
Sure, totally. So definitely that was a big inspiration. And don't get me wrong, there are other practitioners in Fresno, but it's just hasn't been as much a part of like the dialogue in the community. And the more of us, the better. And also coordinating among the other practitioners is really important. Just to letting people know that we are there and we do care and we have something to offer. So I am part of the Community Needles Project, which is funding treatments for people who haven't had as much access to acupuncture or herbal therapies. So we have a scholarship program where people can refer others to our program. And we have some practitioners in Oakland and Berkeley and Fresno who are willing to provide subsidized treatments, like a series of treatments. Because if someone comes in for one treatment, they can have a great experience and realize, like their health issues might open up and they get more breathing room and realize that they can relate differently to their whatever issue they're dealing with. But the medicine is most powerful if they get at least 3 or 4 treatments as a series. So we secured some funding to do a series of treatments. So I think we have like 4 people in Oakland, and they've been community organizers. And then we have the openings for, I think, 6 people in Fresno right now, but we're still getting the referrals to the program. So myself and 2 other acupuncturists in Fresno are coordinating that together. And then also the Central Valley Healing Collective, the organizers of which I met through the Holistic Center, they've had some amazing events in Fresno and Merced and Bakersfield, where they brought together different practitioners, and we did some community healing services, mainly for people who work in community organizing. So it was they were really beautiful events, and the purpose was to prevent burnout among people who work with underserved communities. And I think that's so important because, like, who heals the healers is sort of what I think. Like, it's easy to get burned out as an activist or as an organizer. And so I think investing our skills and talents into that community has a ripple effect throughout the whole community. So those have been really great programs.
And that's really very timely that you say that, because I mean, we find ourselves in the 7th month of an ongoing pandemic.
Yes.
People are experiencing maybe their first bout of compassion fatigue, or it may be on their 3rd bout. It's different for everyone. So I don't even know that folks realize that we have to do that work also.
Right.
That we do need to check in on our service providers, the folks that provide respite for others, and suggest particular things. And it's not always, something that might resonate with them, but there's just so many things available. Can you talk about some of the other services that you provide? Because whenever I try to explain them, I don't do it justice. And I want folks to get better, and I want them to hear this and be like, oh, okay, that sounds way better than what Devoya suggested.
I hear you. Well, so I know that the needles aspect is scary for a lot of people. So some people call them pins, which maybe is a little bit of a friendlier take on it. They really are very tiny filiform needles. Like, I think something like 16 acupuncture needles fit in the head of a hypodermic syringe. So they're much thinner than what we usually associate with needles. So that's one aspect. But if someone is really just not into the pins, then there are a lot of other ways that we can address what's going on from the lens of Chinese medicine without necessarily needling the points, although that can be a really effective modality. So we can do body work, so just massage or acupressure. There are some Japanese tools that stimulate the points without a needle, so like little golds, they're called tations, but they're sort of like metal tools that we can still access the energy of the point without actually puncturing the skin. So there's definitely those less invasive therapies that someone can request. And then I often do cupping as part of my treatments, which can be super powerful in breaking up stagnant tissue. So like when we sit the same way every day looking at our computer screen, or the way we grip our steering wheel when we're driving, like those patterns of movements cause the fibers of our the muscle fibers basically to get stuck together, and that's where knots come from. So what the cupping does is it provides a suction and brings fresh blood and oxygen to those areas that are typically tight or stagnant, where we haven't had as much blood flow. So cupping can be really powerful in just opening up those areas, allowing fresh immune factors to come into the area. Right. So cupping definitely is helpful. And then there's also moxibustion, which is burning an herb near the points, and that's actually warming and really nurturing. It sounds weird, but if you experience it, it's like this deep nurturing feeling. It's hard to describe. Yes.
I don't even know how to describe it. I can only tell folks I was not informed about any of this prior to a year ago, and now it's the one thing that kind of centers me a bit and helps. I just have a tremendous amount of pain throughout the day. I don't often discuss it, but this helps. All the things you just discussed right now all help. And I know that it's not some placebo. It really is, medicine. This practice is helping.
It's powerful. And then the two, or maybe there's 3 other factors. So one factor, well, there's herbal therapies. So we can work on an herbal level and really fine tune the herbal approach to exactly what your body needs. And I'm working on my doctorate right now in a classical Chinese herbology system, which is really powerful and amazing. I love it. So I'm happy to do, if someone's really not into the body work, hands-on stuff, but they want to try Chinese medicine, then I'm happy to do an herbal consult for sure.
Okay.
And then there's some powerful medicine in just setting aside an hour in your day, getting on a table, getting maybe under the infrared light on your belly or your feet, and just closing your eyes. Like that is really powerful medicine. Just that, even without all the point stimulation that we do. So setting aside that time to breathe and center yourself and nap if it's what you need. Just that by itself is really powerful. And then definitely there's an aspect of meditation that comes into it. I'll ask people to focus on their breathing, or if they're not into meditation, to enter like a prayerful state. And I usually ring a little meditation bell just to help them separate from their mundane daily activities and give themselves a few sacred moments to breathe. And I also have free meditation classes on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday morning via Zoom that anyone can attend, because that makes all the difference. Like you asked what I do for myself, and if I don't meditate, then I don't have really anything to offer.
Wow.
But like it fills me up and it makes me have a little bit of overflow that I can then direct into the world in terms of love and energy.
Wow. I like that. I'm not the best at meditation. We offer meditation at the center, but I'm always trying. It's one of the things that I feel certain once I get in the groove will be helpful. And the whole mindfulness practice of, just being in that moment, in that space, it is not lost on me. And so I'm still trying. So I like that you said that it helps fill you up.
Right.
You have to give others too.
Exactly. And meditation, like mindfulness meditation or insight meditation, is often what people start with. And it's just like trying to clear your mind and focus on the breathing. And I think that's probably the hardest way to begin meditating. So the practices that I lead are guided meditations, but also concentration practices. So we have something that we're focusing on, cultivating in ourselves and putting out into the world. And so it's like a series of statements, not necessarily a mantra, but it's like one is to cultivate loving kindness for yourself, for your loved ones, and then for like neutral people or people who challenge you. And that is a really, it's sort of like giving your heart a workout. So like you don't have to do the hardest people, like you don't have to do your least favorite politician. I'm like, just the small challenges, like the coworkers who are just like a little too needy, or, your passive aggressive neighbor, like those are good people to start with. Like, may you be safe and protected, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you live in peace. So it's like, so in the practices that I lead, it gives you something to do, and it's really powerful. And then the other practice that I do is equanimity. So it's not, so it's trying to cultivate a sense of centered calm, to where you don't get overexcited about the good things and you don't get overly distraught about the bad things, but to have like a balance around that and to not be pushed so far off your center by what life throws at you every day. So those two practices I find really powerful and really easy. Like you just follow along, you say the things. Some days you really feel it, some days maybe not so much, but at least you set that intention and planted that seed. If you go to our downtown Fresno Center website, it's benesserifresno.com. That's B like boy, ENESSERE, Fresno.com. And that means wellness in Italian.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's the name of it. So we started this downtown Fresno Center specifically to bring in that yoga studio, acupuncture clinic, massage therapy vibe to the downtown Fresno community. And our target audience at the beginning were the women who go downtown to Fresno and works. There's something like 60,000 people who go into downtown Fresno every day for work. So we were like, these people need something to do on their lunch break. Like, why should they have to drive across town to catch a noontime yoga class? So that was our original inspiration. And now we have myself, some massage therapists, and therapists and LMFT who are there. And it's just been a really great community that we've built up there. So the meditation classes that I offer are through there, and they're free, and it's 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Via Zoom.
And I'll make sure to put that information in the description box
Mm-hmm.
for this podcast as
Great.
well. Elena, how did you come to learn about the services provided at the Holistic Center?
Gosh, how did I hear about you? I think it was through Facebook events.
Okay.
I love what you do. I really, when I found out about your center, I was so excited. I think it's just an amazing, amazing gift to the community that you all are doing. And I think the first event I went to was the Hmong shamanism talk.
Oh, yeah.
Which was awesome.
Was it
so
the
I went
one
with
where they made the pillow?
Mm-hmm. We made a little like what was it called? Like a little talisman that brought warded off bad energy basically. And she was great and I loved it. And I went with a nurse practitioner friend of mine and we just were like, what is this place? This is amazing. So and then I met you there and just signed up and said, hey, I want to do more with you if I can. This is great.
It's been a great experience for us too. I do miss having folks come in and do those sorts of sessions. You're that way as well. We work with folks who do aromatherapy and, the hands-on, let's create something together model we found very useful.
Definitely.
The center itself. And so I'm glad you got to experience that.
Me too. I went to so many fun events there. And I really love that your approach to mental health is in alignment with my practice and with Chinese medicine approach. Like, it's not just about talking about your story with the therapist. Like, that can be very useful and productive, but sometimes you need to sit in a sewing circle with a group of people. Yes. Sometimes you need to cook together. Sometimes you need to dance together. And those experiences I'm not saying therapy is not useful, but it can just go so far in helping you feel supported and part of a community. One of my favorite, Gabor Mate, he's a doctor who specializes in addiction, and he says the opposite of addiction is connection. And I really think that is key, is having that sense of connection. And that's what we've lost so much in just the current state, especially right now with everyone being at home, but even before that, just with the nuclear family unit being the main unit and losing track of our elders and like not as many intergenerational homes. I really feel like there's a big community component that is missing for a lot of people. So I feel like you all really bring that to the table.
I appreciate your saying that. And I agree with you. I feel certain that folks are probably having thoughts about that right now. I noticed that the folks that I think about the most during this time are elders and kids. Because so often those are the folks that get left in the fray. And right. So I've just, for my own mental health and wellness, I've taken to just writing letters to elders and to little kids too, and getting those little videos back of them saying thank you. All those moments do help and remind me that, okay, this is not, inevitably this will end.
Right.
And we'll be able to, go back to a sense of, I don't know, I don't want to say a normal sense, but we'll go back better folks, I hope.
Right.
And I hope that the practices that we've learned prior to this help us sustain us through this time. Everything you just mentioned, cooking together, gardening with other folks, getting your hands in the dirt.
Yes.
Having a conversation with someone who doesn't speak your language, but still having that conversation in the best way possible. All those things build community. And right. That's what we need right now, quite frankly.
Definitely. I think, and it's in alignment with Chinese medicine. So a lot of the points that I might do for someone's neck pain or back pain or digestion also have emotional components. So like some of the digestion points also address worry and fear, and like the neck pain might address like anxiety and like you're holding your body too tight because you're protecting your heart. So I think that Chinese medicine can really work on those issues without people having to go deeply into their story and share too much if they don't want to. I mean, if they want to, while they're on the table, express whatever comes up, they're welcome to do that, but they also don't have to, and we can still address how those experiences are manifesting in their body. And I think that can be really powerful.
And I like that you respect the process. The process is different for everybody. Some people go all in and tell you the full story the moment they meet you. And then there's others who, have to, take their time, and their language about how they feel is different. And the fact that you respect that and you do a thorough consultation for your clients, all the questions you asked aren't questions I would get at my normal, physician's office.
Right.
They were a little more thoughtful. That doesn't take anything away from, my regular physician, but it does make you think. There's no way you would ask me about whether or not I carry my nervousness in my stomach versus, in my head.
Right.
You don't ask questions like that unless there's a real solution or a thought process behind it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right. And that's sort of the different lens of Chinese medicine. Like each organ is related to an emotion. And so understanding where emotions settle in your body can really help us know what avenue is the most productive way to start addressing some of these issues. And it's really powerful. It's amazing. Yeah. I'm like my mind is blown weekly by how powerful the medicine is. And I don't own it. I don't, all respect to my teachers. And sometimes it throws me off that people have these things resolved and I'm not sure, but it's like, hey, let's go for it. This is what the teachers say. And lo and behold, it works. It's wonderful.
I like it.
Yeah.
So what are some things you think the wellness community might consider in order to reach a wider audience? You've talked about your work in the Bay, and you have partners in other parts of the Valley. And before I forget, I just want to also say that I think I'll be working with the Central Valley Healing Collective. Is that it?
Oh, they're awesome.
They are awesome.
Great.
So we're hoping to do a little partnership soon here. So
wonderful.
And I want to say that both you and Adriana Soriano were both the folks that have suggested that for about a year now.
Nice.
And now that we have the time, I'm able to, massage that a little bit and create something that we can do together, because they're not in our county.
Right.
But we're virtual now, and the message is still the same. So we'll be able to do some sort of partnership. So good.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I love that.
Did I make you forget my question? I'm sorry.
No, wait, let me restate it to you. So what can the wellness community do to increase the outreach to a broader community? Yeah,
it can't just be the choir. How are we going to get, the other folks in the room? We got to.
I know. It's true. It's true. And I think more than ever, from the isolation that people have felt with the COVID thing, and also the fear that, the real fear that they have of what their vulnerabilities might be, people are starting to take their own needs more seriously than they had. So I've already seen that happening. So I think reinforcing that, like that you are worth it, you're worth investing some time and energy and maybe money into, in order to make you just more solid in terms of your ability to withstand what the world throws at you. Like what will help you stay centered and your 2 feet firmly planted on the ground are the practices that shore up those vulnerabilities, which can be lots of different things for different people. But taking yourself seriously, I think, is and taking your needs seriously. I think a lot of people, and I understand I fall into this all the time, into caregiver roles where my son's needs, my father's needs, my partner's needs, those all just, I'll put them before my own needs time and time again. And that doesn't actually serve me well, because then I'm not giving, then I don't have as much to give to them when they need it. But remembering that my needs need to be centered is really difficult, and somehow getting that message out to people that they deserve love and care from themselves and others.
Isn't that something?
I think that's key.
Isn't that something?
And
it's
hard.
I was going to say, it sounds simple, but it is not. It's so difficult.
It really is.
Worth it.
Yeah, I'm worth it.
On so many levels.
And showing up. I mean, I feel like showing up is the hardest thing. Like, there's all these online Tai Chi classes, yoga classes. They're amazing. They're beautiful. I feel so great when I do them. I could probably make like 6 a week, but maybe I'll do 1 or 2 at the most on a good week. So it's like, why? What am I doing the other 6 days that I can't show up for myself? Like, it doesn't even cost money. It's just about setting aside time and showing up for myself. And it's the biggest challenge. I don't know what the answer is other than reinforcing the message that you are worth it.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
That's a great answer. So my final question for you this evening is, how can the Holistic Center, as I've said before, we're located in Southwest Fresno, and we have some clear goals and objectives that were handed down when they put the center together. But we're expanding just like everyone else. And so what are some things, I've just asked you, what are some ways, that we can reach a wider audience, but what are some ways that we can be helpful and supportive of folks such as yourself, complementary healers, folks who may or may not be involved on a grander scale, but have these tools to offer others? How can we get in touch with those folks and be of support and provide some services that you think might be, useful?
That's a good question. I feel that you've been immensely supportive of me. Like, I've given a few classes with you, and I feel like that's been really great.
So maybe more models like that, like partner with someone one-on-one and try and engage others, you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think giving people a platform where they're like, what's it called? Signal boosting them is huge, because there's so much out there that if some organization that you trust is holding up this person like they have something to offer, then I will look at that twice. Whereas if I just saw their post, I might not, it might not land on me because there's so much. So yes, signal boosting is huge. And, people are out there doing things. And if you find that, spreading the word, like those meditation classes I lead, like I would I could have 400 people there, but we always have like 3 to 6. So, let people know it's free. I'm doing it as my community service, giving back to the community. That's a huge part. Yeah.
Love it.
And you all do that too with your yoga classes and Ninfa's amazing classes. Like, sometimes I'll try to catch them on Facebook, and the Tai Chi classes, they're amazing. I mean, I think you're doing the work that needs to be done, and just keep spreading the word, because people, they say something like people have to hear a message 10 times before it actually lands. Right. So knowing that even if people don't respond right away, like it's getting there. It goes a little deeper every time they hear it. You are worth it.
That's a good way to look at it too. Right. Often, as the project trainer, it's my position to both help community as well as, internal. And I'm always wondering how to do that. And in a way that makes folks understand, I would not allow anything that would be harmful to anyone, preside in these spaces. And I just want us all to be well. This is not something I would have taken seriously 5 years ago. It came into my life when I wasn't doing very well. And so to give back
Yes.
during that is a necessity that I don't take lightly. So, yeah.
I agree. I mean, I think that's like when you give, that's actually how you receive, right? And also how you pay it forward. Like the people who helped you through a hard time,
Right.
You can extend that hand to the next person, and then we're all raised up.
Yeah, we just have to.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me feel better. I don't know about you, but knowing that someone who may or may not have thought twice about, yoga because
Right.
of how they perceived you must look or dress.
Right.
Now we're in a position where none of those things are at the top of your, they're not at the forefront any longer. And you're able to come as you are and not feel othered. And if that's how you make your way to the practice, I think this is just a grand time to learn so many different things. So we want to use all the platforms we have available to show folks. You can get yoga over here. You can get meditation over here.
Right.
You can learn how to make some nutritional food during COVID, all these different things.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I always tell people for my meditation classes, you don't have to turn on your camera. You can just roll out of bed. You can still be in bed. You can be like serving your kids breakfast and just,
girl, you got it.
Whatever you need to do.
It's on now.
Yeah.
Yes, I love it.
That's the beauty of online stuff, right?
Yeah, we got to find that beauty somewhere. Well,
please don't be looking at your screen. Look elsewhere.
No, look anywhere but there.
Yeah,
and it will.
Exactly.
So I want to remind folks that if they'd like to access your services, they can go online at Benesseri Fresno. Is that correct? And that's
BeneseriFresno.com is the Fresno office that I practice at, but I also have a personal website, which is ElenaPerezLAC.com.
Got it. And if they happen to be listening in the San Francisco area, you're located in the Inner Sunset District. And they find that information on your website as well.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Well, do you have any closing comments for our listeners today? It's been enjoyable talking with you.
I love chatting with you, Devoya, anytime. Let's see. Hang in there, listeners. You're worth it. If you feel overwhelmed, just take a moment to breathe and maybe try something you haven't tried before. Open yourself up to all the possibilities that are out there for you. Like the right thing is there. It's just about relaxing enough to see it, right? So remember that you're worth it and take some time to breathe today.
I'm so glad this was my last conversation of the day. I really am. I'm thankful for you as a practitioner and a friend and a human being who gets it and gives back to Fresno. So I'm so happy that you agreed to this interview, and I can't wait for us to work on our next project together.
Me too.
It makes me happy, and I don't ever feel fatigued when talking about this stuff with you. So we appreciate you.
Oh, thanks, Devoya. You do amazing work. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, friend.
Thank you for listening to the Holistic Happy Hour.